Good morning. It is Brenton Begley with McIntyre of the Law and Latte with a Lawyer. That's what we're doing right now. Part 3 of a 3-part series on how to qualify for Medicaid. So, if you want to save money and not to pay everything you worked hard all your life to a long-term care facility, then let's talk about how to qualify for Medicaid. So, what you need to do, okay, is get your assets to the right level, and you actually need to have the need for care, right? So you gotta need the care first. You can't get Medicaid without needing the care, but that's a given. So let's talk about the asset component to qualification for Medicaid. Number 1, you're allowed to have a home. Number 2, you're allowed to have a car. You're allowed to have an insurance policy as long as it is term, okay, any value, or if it is a whole life policy, generally if it's $10,000 or less, okay? So you're allowed to have those things. You're allowed to have prepaid burial or funeral expenses. And if you do have an insurance policy and you haven't prepaid your funeral expenses, you can sign that policy over to the funeral home and pay for that. That's an okay thing. All right, so how do you qualify? Let's say you have a spouse. That is the easiest way to qualify if you have a spouse, because it allows you to have more flexibility and to get qualified. So if you have a spouse, your spouse is allowed to keep a certain amount. It's called the Community Spouse Resource Allowance, CSRA, and that number is approximately $126,800, okay? So your spouse can keep up to that amount, all right? I say up to because that means you can keep that amount if you have $250,000 or over, okay? Or if you have under that, you can keep about half, okay? So why does this matter? What does this mean? Well, those are the amount of countable assets that you can keep, okay? But you can keep other assets that don't count against you for Medicaid purposes. And what are those assets? Some types of real property, some types of property in trust, some types of annuities, okay? So you have a general amount of what you can keep, okay, without having to do anything with, without having to spend it down or move it around or change the nature of the asset to preserve the value. However, there's a cap, there's a ceiling on how much you can have there. So with anything you have over and above that Community Spouse Resource Allowance, you have to do something with it to preserve the value. And that's where we come in, okay? We crunch the numbers, we look at the assets, and we decide, okay, what should we do with this type of account? And should we exempt it in this way or maybe another way? And that all depends on your particular situation. So that being said, I can generally tell you the rules for Medicaid, but I can't tell you exactly how to qualify because it depends, okay? It depends on your particular situation, your family situation, what assets you have, how much you have, all that good stuff. So if you really want to know how to qualify for Medicaid, then sit down with me for an hour for free, and I'll be happy to tell you. 704-259-7040, McIntyre Elder Law. Visit us at McIntyreElderLaw.com. That's mcelderlaw.com to book your free consult today.